The movie opens with a young woman named Ellen Hutter, jolted awake from a terrifying dream. In it, she makes a dark pact with a powerful demon named Nosferatu. The creature, also a vampire, seduces her before violently choking her, completing some sort of unholy possession. Ellen wakes up gasping, realizing it was all just a nightmare. Her husband, Thomas, comforts her, trying to calm her down. Thomas, needing to get to work, quickly kisses Ellen goodbye and rushes out the door. Still haunted by her dream, Ellen can't shake the feeling that something is terribly wrong. At his office, Thomas apologizes to his boss, Knock, for being late. Knock congratulates him on his recent marriage and offers him an important assignment: to sell a property in Wisburg to a mysterious, reclusive man named Count Orlok. Thomas agrees to the deal, hoping it'll help him earn a promotion. Later that day he tells Ellen about the trip. She's visibly upset and pleads with him not to go, telling him about another terrifying dream she had. One where she married death, surrounded by dead boys acting as wedding guests. Thomas reassures her it was just a bad dream and insists he needs to go for their future. The next day he takes her to stay at the home of a wealthy friend named Friedrich Harding while he's away. Before he leaves, he gives her another round of comfort, promising everything will be fine. The following morning, just before Thomas heads out, Ellen secretly gives him a necklace. Hidden inside it is a lock of her own hair, something she doesn't tell him about, but which fulfills a hidden requirement of the pact. After a long trip, Thomas arrives in Transylvania. At first, the locals seem friendly, but soon their behavior turns creepy. They start laughing in a weird, unsettling way. The village chief scolds them but then warns Thomas to stay far away from Count Orlok. Thomas, determined, bribes the chief to let him stay the night. That evening, an old woman gives Thomas a cross and urges him to keep it close. He'll need it. That night, Thomas witnesses a chilling ritual. The villagers stab a corpse they claim is a vampire. Disturbed, he tries to sleep and pushes forward with his journey the next morning. As he heads to the castle, a strange carriage appears out of nowhere. No one is driving it but Thomas climbs inside anyway. With wolves running alongside it, the carriage takes him deep into the woods, finally arriving at Count Orlok's eerie castle. Orlok greets him with a tense, impatient energy and tells him he's late. He insists they eat dinner quickly and complete the transaction. When Thomas brings up the strange warnings he heard from the villagers, Orlok shrugs them off as superstitions. As Thomas cuts his food, he accidentally slices his thumb, and the sight of blood triggers a strange response from Orlok. His demeanor shifts and he starts behaving like a predator. Before Thomas can react, Orlok reveals his true form and attacks him. Meanwhile, back at Friedrich's house, Ellen senses something's wrong. She tries to warn her friend Anna about a looming danger, but Anna brushes it off, thinking Ellen is just stressed or imagining things. While Thomas lies unconscious, he dreams again. During this time, Orlok forces him to sign a document written in some kind of occult script. He also takes the necklace, specifically the hair inside it. Orlok pays Thomas in gold coins to complete the deal. He begs to leave but Orlok denies his request. He tells Thomas there's no way out now. Thomas notices strange bite marks on his chest. It becomes clear that Orlok has been feeding on him during the night. Determined to escape, Thomas searches the castle but all the doors are locked. Eventually he finds a staircase leading to the basement. There he discovers Orlok sleeping in a coffin. Thomas grabs an axe and tries to strike him, but Orlok wakes just in time and stops him. Terrified, Thomas runs for his life. Using Ellen's hair, Orlok begins a spell. As he chants, Ellen, miles away, starts feeling the effects. She grows weak and ill. Orlok uses his powers to control Thomas, compelling him to unlock a door he previously couldn't open. Once it's open, Orlok attacks again, draining Thomas of more blood. After the attack, Orlok performs a disturbing and dominant act, further enslaving Thomas to his will. Back at Friedrich's house, Ellen's health continues to deteriorate. She has seizures and strange fits. Friedrich calls in Dr. Wilhelm. While Wilhelm examines her, Ellen begins moaning and thrashing like she's in a trance. The doctor sedates her, but her condition doesn't improve. He eventually recommends transferring her to his mentor, Professor Albin Eberhard von Franz, an expert in Switzerland known for his work with the occult. Meanwhile, Thomas manages to escape the castle by leaping from a window into the river below. He's eventually found unconscious by a nun who brings him to a nearby church. She prays for him until he finally regains consciousness. Ellen's seizures grow more violent, and Wilhelm becomes more alarmed. He claims the devil's presence is near. Over in the church, Thomas realizes he has to get back to Wisburg to protect Ellen. The nuns try to convince him to rest, but he refuses. At the same time, Count Orlok begins his journey toward Wisburg, bringing with him a crate filled with plague-infected rats and grave dirt. Dr. Wilhelm and Friedrich arrive at Professor Albin's home in Switzerland. Albin listens carefully as Wilhelm explains Ellen's symptoms. After examining her, Albin reveals that Ellen is under the influence of Nosferatu, a demonic vampire that spreads disease and death wherever he goes. Albin attempts to confront the demon and demands it reveal itself. In response, Ellen becomes fully possessed. Orlok speaks through her and she begins screaming uncontrollably. Albin tells Friedrich she is cursed. Wilhelm, however, still thinks it's just mental illness. Friedrich believes it's because she's worried sick over Thomas being gone. Albin insisted he needed to study the demon further. He told Anna to keep a close eye on Ellen and to call him immediately if anything unusual happened. Thomas made it back to Wisburg and told Ellen she had been right all along about her dreams. But shortly after he collapsed. At the same time, city guards approached Friedrich with news of a shipwreck. They showed him a mysterious vessel that had brought the plague to Wisburg. It was Count Orlok's ship. Orlok made his way to his new home where his devoted servant, Nock, greeted him with a bow. Orlok promised to spread terror and despair across the land. Back at Friedrich's house, Ellen stayed by Thomas's side as he fell seriously ill. Anna came to visit and apologized for not believing Ellen earlier. Meanwhile, Dr. Wilhelm and Albin began studying a corpse found on Orlok's ship. They realized the rats on board weren't normal, they were evil carriers of the vampire's curse. Albin insisted they needed to find Nock immediately, but it was already too late. He had escaped. Elsewhere, Orlok began chanting a spell to spread darkness over Wisburg. Thomas had a terrifying vision of Orlok and woke up in a panic. That same night, Anna went downstairs and caught Ellen acting strangely. Ellen begged her to stay the night and Anna agreed. At his office, Albin shared his findings on the vampire plague. That night, Ellen had a disturbing dream. Orlok appeared and tried to manipulate her, claiming Thomas had traded her for gold and signed divorce papers. Ellen didn't believe a word of it. Furious, Orlok threatened to kill Thomas if she disobeyed. When Ellen woke up, she could feel Orlok's power growing stronger. His plague-carrying rats attacked Anna, and Ellen was left horrified. The infection spread fast, forcing Wisburg into quarantine. Anna, now infected, began showing signs of the plague. Ellen broke down in despair as the city descended into chaos. Friedrich stayed close, trying to comfort her. But later, he suggested that she and Thomas leave the city to stop the spread of the disease. Ellen took offense, accusing him of blaming them. Meanwhile, Albin found a strange symbol carved into Nock's office wall. It was a warning, a sign of Nosferatu's arrival. Ellen and Thomas eventually returned home. Thomas pleaded with her to leave the city with him, but she refused, saying it was already too late. She confessed that she had summoned the demon when she was a child and had been connected to him ever since. She accused Thomas of caring more about money than about their safety. She reminded him about the contract he had signed for Orlok, the one that doomed them all. Their argument escalated until Ellen began convulsing. She was being possessed by Nosferatu. Thomas realized what was happening and tried to go for help, but Ellen stopped him. Possessed, she seduced Thomas and demanded he make love to her. Afterward, she returned to her normal self, confused and terrified. That night, Orlok murdered Friedrich's children to prove his power. Heartbroken, Friedrich finally accepted that Nosferatu was real. Albin came up with a desperate plan. Nosferatu could only be destroyed if a pure-hearted woman willingly gave her life to him. Ellen was the only one who could make that sacrifice. Grieving, Friedrich attempted to summon Nosferatu using his wife's body as bait. But when the others arrived, they found him dead from the plague. Both his and his wife's bodies were burned to stop the disease from spreading further. The group moved forward with their plan. Ellen volunteered to lure Orlok into her bedroom. At the same time, the others located a coffin they believed belonged to him. Thomas opened it and stabbed the corpse inside, but it wasn't Orlok. It was Nock. They realized Orlok had tricked them again. Thomas raced back to save Ellen while Albin set the crypt on fire, trying to destroy the vampire's resting place. At home, Ellen waited patiently for Orlok wearing her wedding dress. As he arrived, she softly recited her vows. He did the same, completing the dark ritual. Ellen let him feed on her, surrendering herself to him in a twisted, tragic embrace. By morning, the sacrifice began taking effect. Orlok grew weaker, realizing too late that Ellen's purity was destroying him. He collapsed into a lifeless husk, dying in excruciating agony. Alan held him as he faded into dust. Thomas arrived just in time to find her pale and dying. She reached out and held his hand as she passed away, her sacrifice ending the plague and killing Nosferatu for good. The end. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out the full movie for the complete experience.